preparing my live stream webinar.
There we go.
It says, setting up my webinar for Facebook Live. I hope work is happy that you're doing this. I hope we get bonus points. Okay, I think we're on. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't know. Now we're getting texts from, I have no idea who else.
Looks good.
You can see it?
Split screen. Yeah, it's well.
All right. So hi, everybody. It is me, Natalie Diaz, and that is Chelsea. I don't know if she's above me. Am I below you on your screen?
On my screen, you're below me, but on live, we're next to each other. So like high five this way.
To that way?
I think so.
That's what we're doing? I don't know if that's working out. Not as coordinated as we see. So now I know Chelsea since she has been expecting, and I've been very fortunate to not only do I deal with her on a personal basis, but on a professional basis too. And Chelsea's been very, very generous, and she has offered to give us an insight into her universe for the next year. Are we really doing this for a year?
I mean, I'm in.
I'm in too. I'm super stoked about it. Okay, good. I could see it too. There's people on. So what I have your questions here, but I'm going to go through some questions that I already have for Chelsea. And I know that you're going to have questions too for kind of like the first few weeks. So Chelsea, first and foremost, we met at a Twiniversity class and it was held at Lamella, and you're like, oh my God, I love her so much, and this is her family, and it's got to mean the world to us. And Jared, your husband, is just absolutely fantastic. You're a very, I don't know, I knew that you're going to be a great family. You could just tell when people are going to be great parents, and not saying that I meet people that I'm like, oh, they're going to be a crappy parent. But you definitely are a natural, and both of you, even the way that you acted in class, truth be told, you were so cute with each other. And even when I said things like, we talked about swallowing, like he'd look at you or look at your rings, and you got something good there. So I would like to know how your delivery went and where you delivered, how that whole thing went. And I would like for you to tell people the story of the first few weeks with your monkeys being home.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. And thanks, Nat, for the opportunity to savor these next 12 months. I think this will be really fun to look back on in a few years. So I delivered with NYU. I started with NYU from the beginning, and we were actually high risk. So we were with NYU Maternal Fetal Medicine. My doctors there were Dr. Prodfit and Dr. Roman, and I love both of them dearly. And we really trusted them, and everything they said was fantastic. So when I found out that there was a chance I could deliver vaginally and C-section, I decided that that was way too stressful for me. And I just wanted to have a scheduled C-section and hope for the best. So we scheduled a date, which coincidentally, when they suggested a date at 38 weeks, was my husband's birthday, which is really funny because Nat has that in common too. But when we decided that, we never thought we would make it to 38 weeks. And we were very fortunate and lucky that we did. My work was very accommodating to me, which was really, I'm thankful for that. And I contribute making it to 38 weeks to my work, letting me work from home and go on a little bit of short-term disability prior to delivering was really helpful. So March 8th came around, we drove into Manhattan, we got a hotel room at the West End using some of our points that we thought were going to expire. We had a really fancy meal at the Capitol Grill because it was across the street, and I didn't feel like going anywhere other than across the street. And ate a ton of steak, and little did I know that would be my last meal for a week, but more on that later.
So how was towards the end of your pregnancy? Did you have swelling? Were you uncomfortable? Did you have like a picture perfect pregnancy? What was the scoop? Like, when did you start to feel great and then not so great, and then time to get these out?
Sure. So my first trimester was really hard. I threw up all the time. I was really sick. Finally, that was done. And then I'm like, oh, second trimester, everything is amazing. And around a few weeks into my second trimester, I started getting really bad back pain. And my back pain actually ended up, instead of being lower back pain, which I think a lot of people experience, was my rib had moved. And I'm really thankful that I pressed doctors to put me into physical therapy, because they were the ones who told me it was a rib issue and not a back issue. So I went to physical therapy for a while, and I also got acupuncture and cupping, which helped tremendously. But that back pain was the worst thing throughout my entire pregnancy, but it was really, really bad back pain.
Now, did you go to a physical therapist that was like a licensed prenatal physical therapist?
I went with NYU's recommendation of their women's physical therapy department. And I know that the woman I worked with specializes in twins, specializes in high risk pregnancies, and then also does postnatal. It took them a little bit of time to set me up with her because they had to find someone who specialized in that. And also with acupuncture and cupping, I went to someone who specializes in high risk pregnancy as well.
Okay. Also, I want to let the viewer know we're working out the kinks of this whole thing. So sometimes you'll see that it'll go from Chelsea and me side by side to Chelsea big. And truthfully, I'm just playing with the settings to see what works best because that's what we're doing. All right. So I just wanted to fill them in case they were like, oh, that's, what the hell's Nat doing? With all the settings, because we don't know. This is a very new feature. Julie and I only did this once before, so since we haven't, and the reason why we're doing it this way is that I don't want to harass Chelsea and come into her house and disrupt the world, and if the kids are taking a nap, I want to make this easy so that you guys on that side could get the benefit of her experience. All right, just giving them that heads up. I like to do my disclaimer. Now, going back, we had a beautiful meal at the Capitol Grill. Our giant belly with steak, and then what happened?
And then we went to the hospital in the morning, and I had an 8 a.m. appointment. We were in at 8:30. I went into the room. I will say some things that were surprising to me was just what the operating room looked like. It felt like I was in ER, the show.
All right, but even before that, they gave you a time to check in.
Yes.
Right? You checked in at whatever time. All your paperwork was done, or did you have anything else to do that morning?
I didn't. I do everything. I'm a little bit crazy. I did everything in advance. So I showed up at 6 a.m. for my 8 a.m. C-section. I just kind of hung around for 2 hours. They came in. They asked me the same questions a million times, why I have a certain allergy to a medicine that's kind of a fake allergy, to be honest. They asked me about my history with asthma. They asked me about my scoliosis, asked me a lot of questions over and over. Every single doctor asked me the same questions over and over and over again. Something that was surprising that maybe word for the wise out there was because it was a twin C-section, there were residents of different medical specialties in the room, in the C-section, and also before. So there was an oral surgeon resident there. He was actually the only man, I think, of 23 women who helped with the C-section, but he was there. So, it was cool for him to learn from. And he asked me a lot of questions too. So, just kind of be prepared that there might be people who aren't OBGYN specialists in this surgery. Yeah.
Everybody's invited to join the party.
Okay. Exactly.
All right, so you got there early. They brought you right up to your labor room. Was it a labor room, or because it was a C-section, were you someplace else?
I went right to the OR.
Okay.
Operating room, yeah.
Okay. So you go right into the OR, and then Jared and you are separate, or are you together?
Yeah, so for epidural, we were separate, which was kind of scary. I didn't really I knew that he wasn't going to be there, but I didn't really know how I was going to feel about it. So I went into the room first. I felt like I was in ER the show. One of the things that was really surprising to me was how skinny the table was that you're going to lay on. I'm like, I can't even feel like I can't even fit on this with my belly right now. So they did the epidural, and then they let Jared come in, and I was freezing the whole time.
It always is. Did they have a bear hugger or anything on the table, or warm blankets, or anything that you could tell somebody who was having a C-section what they might want to do? I don't know if it was words from the wise or the experience, but once they pulled the boys out of me, they asked, I started feeling like I was having a headache and short breath, and I was telling them that. And they offered me general anesthesia for the rest of the time to put me out because the boys were out of me. And I said yes. I don't think I really thought through what saying yes would do to me later. Mm-hmm. Which we can talk about, but I was kind of happy to be out for the next 2 hours while they were sewing me back up. But my poor husband had to just kind of sit there and do the skin to skin and take care of everything. One of our things that we're joking about is when I was under anesthesia, I turned to him and said,
never go skiing. I think that was because it was cold and I was dreaming about skiing. I don't know. So that was silly, but yeah.
That's great. No, stuff like that. It's a memorable story that's going to be on a mug, I foresee, this Father's Day.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
All right. So what happened that once so wait, let's talk about like the timing, right? Because we talk about it in Twiniversity. So not everybody gets to come to Twiniversity. When you get in there, from the time that you're in there to the time that the procedure starts is how long? Then how long till the babies were out? Estimate, of course. I'm not saying that you were sitting there with the stopwatch. And then after the babies were out, pretty much you were like, let's go unders, and then you don't know what the timing was. So what was the timing like till then?
Sure. And also I would say too, is I was really afraid of the pain of the epidural going in, and it wasn't painful at all. So once they started doing everything, I think it was 5 minutes, a baby was out of me, and then the other baby was out of me a minute later. To describe how it felt, it just kind of felt like I like pulling, very, very light pulling. And then when one baby came out, it felt like if something was laying on your stomach, it just kind of came off. Like that was, you know, if you had a very heavy pillow laying on your stomach and that pillow was taken off you, and then a very heavy pillow again, and then that was taken off you. And then I saw the twins. I didn't do the gentle C-section, which is where you can see them come out. Mm-hmm. I'm not a friendly person to medicine and blood. Like that's very scary to me. So we just were like, yeah, the sheet's fine. I don't know how maybe later I would, if I did it again, which I probably am not, maybe I would do the gentle C-section, but that's an option out there too.
Okay. All right. So then after baby B is out, and who is A and who is B?
So very funny. In the womb, A, it was Nash and B was Knox. Okay. But when they came out, baby B came out first. So baby B became baby A and baby A became baby B, which really was confusing for us in the hospital. So Knox came out. What was that?
Why did they do that? Did they give you a reason of what happened?
I just think it was the positioning, and Knox was a little bit bigger. Maybe that was why he was maybe somewhere closer. And so baby B became baby A.
Okay. All right. That's fun. Always
very confusing. And like when they had baby A and baby B on the board, I just was so confused as to who to. But they told us immediately, they were like, just so you know, baby B is now baby A. So if you had a name specifically for him, get ready to change it.
Okay. All right. We have Lauren. We now have some Mom Squad members, which is kind of cool. So everybody is joining in on the party. I want to ask them a general question. So the people that are watching, because now we have to find out, do you like when it's just Chelsea's face, or do you like when we are split screen? I have a preference, definitely, but I want to see what everybody, so just chime in. You could see what my preference is because it's what the majority of this live feed has been. I don't know if Chelsea's watching. All right. So now let's talk about the serious stuff. So they knock you out. And what happens?
And then I wake up around 2 hours later, and they're wheeling me to the post-op area. There were a few things, you know, my poor husband had to sit in there for 2 hours while I was knocked out, and he held the boys, and he would run back and forth to tell our family, everybody's okay, here are the babies' names, etc. So he was kind of doing a back and forth dance. And then they took me to post-op, and we have a lot of grandparents and siblings for the, like aunts and uncles for the boys. So when I was in post-op, you're only allowed to have 2 guests at a time. And what I would recommend and what we did is I didn't want my husband not to be with me. I didn't want him, you know, I didn't want it to be both my parents and Jared to not be with me and the boys. So Jared would bring in one person on a rotation.
Very good. So he was considered part of the team.
Yes. And he also, we told the parents in advance that this was going to be how it was. So they had to pick who was going in first. We're like, we're not getting involved. You pick the order. We'll follow suit.
All right. Well, that was good. So they had a little bit of say. So you did have a big team there, which is really, really nice. Now, where did everything go a little awry?
Yeah. So everything was fine in the surgery. I was drinking water after. Everything was good. And so probably everything finished at around 12 o'clock. At around 6 o'clock, I finally went into the post-labor and delivery floor. So they moved me from post-op to another floor. And then I was hungry, and I ate a pretzel crisp, like a pretzel chip. and threw up. And from there, things kind of spiraled and my bowels fell asleep after surgery. So I had an ileus and we were in the hospital for a week instead of 2 or 3 days.
Okay. So they determined that you had that through a sonogram, or what was the test that they did to find out that this was definitely what it was?
Yeah. So I couldn't keep any food down, and that's how they knew. And then this is kind of nasty, but my throw up was green. And that's your stomach bile saying basically nothing is moving, everything is coming up because nothing is moving down. So I was not allowed to eat or drink for a week. I was on IV. I was still on some of the pain meds, still on some of the standard post-op stuff. And then I would say the worst part of everything, even worse than the delivery, was the NG tube that they had to put up my nose into my stomach to also kind of gross, but clean out everything in my stomach, and which in theory is supposed to wake your bowels.
Okay. All right. So they did that. And so for 5 days, but you could see the babies, right?
Yeah, the babies lived with us in the room that we were in. What we didn't do was we didn't let the boys sleep with us because I really needed to recover, and because there were so many people coming in and out at night. And also because of what the ileus did is my stomach after surgery went down a bit, but then my bowels, because they were not awake, expanded, and I looked 9 months pregnant again. So I couldn't hold the boys comfortably, basically. So I couldn't help my husband at all. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. So I couldn't leave him with 2 newborn babies. So we did have them go to the nursery at night.
Okay, well, that's fine. And how do you feel about that?
I feel like we made the right decision to help me get to my recovery, to get home. Okay. If I was mobile and doing fine, they totally could have been in the room with us, but it was a good way for me to get a full night's sleep and recover.
And you were by yourself?
My husband was with me every night.
But you weren't in a room with like another mom who had just delivered?
No, the first night we were, which our room was way too small. So we opted and paid into getting our own room, which for those of you listening, you can use your flex spending account towards. So I highly recommend putting a lot of money in your flex spending account if you live in New York and might have to pay for a single room.
That is a genius tip. I was hoping that if like the hospitals are slow, sometimes they'll try to put you by yourself, but you can never predict it and you can't plan. Like everybody's like, oh, we're planning on that. You can't ever plan it. If it could be 47 babies born, that day, Mother Nature has a different plan than we do.
Yeah.
So sadly, you had a longer stay. But do you think that was a benefit at all?
I think there was a lot of silver lining to it. A few things. One is my boys were under perfect pediatric care for 6 days. So instead of being a new parent coming home 2 days after the hospital being like, is my kid okay? We were very confident that our kids were doing really well. We knew that their weights, they were getting checked. We watched what the pediatrician did to check up on them. The other thing I would say is my husband, Jared, was an all-star because he had to learn and do everything. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't change a diaper. I couldn't change clothes. I didn't learn how to swaddle. He learned everything. So when we came home, I had not changed a diaper yet after a week. He was the diaper changer. So he learned how to do everything. And I think it was really wonderful experience for him to have that. I think a lot of moms take the role of being like, I'm going to learn everything and then let the husband do whatever it is that he does. But because of this, we had a little bit of a reversal.
I think a lot of people are not prepared, like you said, for that. So, but I knew he was going to be fine. I mean, honestly, in Twiniversity, we say who never changed a diaper. And we do that because a lot of people haven't. And the first time, at the hospital to see these things or see what is a tab on a diaper and why is it important to, not cover the umbilical cord. So things of that nature. So see, that was definitely a silver lining. I'm sorry that could you get out of bed? Oh, did they let you walk?
So I was supposed to walk. So I did do some walks. And I started walking a lot towards the end of the week. But it wasn't easy. I had all the hookups, I've got the IVs everywhere. And it was very challenging to hold the babies too, because my stomach was so big and I had all the IVs. It wasn't ideal, but again, there was major silver lining to it.
All right. So you eventually were discharged.
Yes.
So everybody went home. Oh, that was what I was going to ask you. Did you use the pediatricians in the hospital, or did your pediatrician come to the hospital?
No, we used the pediatricians in the hospital, and then they gave us a report, which we gave to our local pediatrician.
And do you regret that your pediatrician didn't come to the hospital, or you think that this is the greatest thing ever?
Oh, no, it's fine. I didn't even really think of that as an option. Yeah. I trusted the NYU pediatricians, just like I think the doctors at NYU are all fantastic. So I trusted everybody.
Yeah, and that would be tough because you're a little bit far from the hospital.
Yes.
Being in the fancy city the night before, which is good. All right, so now we get discharged. You drive home. Everybody drives in together. Your car seats were already installed, or did he put them in the garage?
Oh, no, our car seats have been installed for a month. Actually, our car seats, we wish we had installed them earlier because the month before I gave birth, we installed the car seats and realized that our car was too small for both, for my husband to drive comfortably and for the car seats to be right. So we had to get a bigger car, which was fine. But because I was so pregnant, I didn't learn to drive it. I still really haven't learned to drive this huge SUV that we now have. So I feel a little bit homebound. So I would say get your car seats really early, make sure they fit in your car with both, and then figure things out before you're too pregnant to drive.
Well, at least they were installed. So you get in the car, you head back home. Who's home waiting for you?
Yes. And I would say too, we watched about 6 YouTube videos as to how to install an infant into a car seat before we went to the hospital, because I had a lot of anxiety about that. So we get in the car, we go home, and we in advance hired and worked with a postpartum doula service to help and support us for the first 72 hours when we got home. This was the best decision we made. I was not prepared really for a lot of things. She took all my bottles out, sanitized everything, taught us everything. And because of the ordeal that we kind of went through, she was a great middleman between my husband, who knew how to do everything, and then teaching me things that I should have already learned in the hospital.
Okay. All right. So she was there when you were home already?
She met us. We were like texting. She met us, I would say, 5-10 minutes after we walked.
All right. So she wasn't like in the house, but what did you have prepared in the house? Like bottles and formula, like what did you have ready to go? So obviously their cribs were all together, their beds were made, their clothes were in the drawer, you had diapers, you had wipes and everything you needed. Did you buy formula and have it in the house, or did you just take what the hospital gave you? We took what the hospital gave us. The hospital gave us a ton of formula, which was great. And I, on Amazon, 2 days before we were let out of the hospital, ordered a ton of formulas. So I had that coming the next day. Okay. I ordered diapers off. Like, there were things I knew we were going to need in the hospital that I just preemptively ordered on Amazon. Okay. And like more diapers. Once we knew the size, we didn't know if they were going to be preemie. We didn't know if they were going to need newborn diapers. So I ordered a lot of that in the hospital. I had bottles at home. I hadn't ever taken them out because I thought I was going to be breastfeeding, which, by the way, I couldn't because of everything that happened. So I didn't even know how to sterilize them. I had a bottle brush, but like, I didn't know I would ever use a bottle brush. So she helped us take everything out, cleaned it, taught me how to sterilize things and take care of everything that we really needed just to feed them. And did you have family too that was there, or was it just her? So at the house, it was just our postpartum doula. Our family from out of state was in town, but actually they had gone home at that point, and we knew they were coming after the 72 hours we had with the doula. So we didn't plan to have any overlap with our family and the doula because we thought that was kind of a waste. There was some great grandparents for the boys visiting from Florida. So when they came over, we just told our doula, go eat, go do whatever you want, and she was amazing too. I will say I went to the pediatrician for the first appointment. I came home and she was vacuuming my house, cleaning everything, taking care of things that I just didn't even think I should do, especially when we were having guests come over all the time. My house was consistently clean and my babies were consistently taken care of, which was great. That is fantastic. So that first day, You come home, did you jump in the shower? Did you take a nap? What was on the plan for that first day?
Well, we came home at 10 p.m. at night because I had to wait for like my body to show that I wasn't going to throw up any food. And which the drive home was terrifying, but driving in New York City, my only sanity was I was like, okay, there's a million people around us and they all drove home from the hospital somehow. So I think we'll be okay. So we came home, it was night. We were exhausted. She was taking care of the bottles. That night we were like, we're going to go to bed. She took care of the babies that night.
Good.
And then I don't think I showered. I was so tired.
That's not something you're supposed to do. So it's not on the list. Like, don't feel bad about it. It's tiring. If you didn't get home till, if you left at 10:30, you left at 10:30 or got home at 10:30?
We left at 10. We got home at around 10:30. He met us here. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, no, you should have went right to sleep, which is good. So after you're home, so she stayed with you for 72 hours, helped you take care of everything. Now, if you didn't have a doula, usually like your mom would come or whatever. So having help is pretty nice. Now, how did you feel like C-section wise?
I was pretty confident that I was okay just because I had been in the hospital and checked up on every day, like all the time. And they sent me home. I was off the period of narcotics, especially with what was going on in my stomach. Yes. So I was just on Motrin, and I really wasn't in a lot of pain at all from my C-section, which was great.
Very, very good. All right. So now she's there. The next morning you wake up and you're like, oh my God, we have 2 dogs, 2 babies, a doula, and there's still Jared.
Yeah.
How did that first day go?
The first day went well because I wanted to breastfeed. So she helped me kind of set me up with my pump and learn some things about that. Some things were kind of interesting to me, like the remedies I needed for my ileus were the opposite of the things that you need for breastfeeding. So there was like, you need peppermint to move things through, but that's really bad for breastfeeding. So there were some things that she taught me that I didn't know. The first thing we did when we woke up is sent Jared to the grocery store. I had a really long list of things that I wanted.
I could imagine.
Yeah. And I think the day was just pretty chill. It's kind of a blur. She really took care of most things and taught me how to bottle feed, taught me how to change diapers. I was like, Jared, you're not changing any diapers today. I'm learning to do everything. Like, this is my day to learn things.
Good.
And yeah, that was how that first day kind of went.
All right. So, and then did the doula say, well, let's get them on a feeding schedule, or we're going to keep them on what they did in the hospital? So were you on some kind of schedule in the house?
Yeah, I told the doula in advance I wanted to get onto a schedule. That was really important to me. And I wanted her to teach me how to get onto a schedule. So this schedule is every 3 hours feeding. I was trying to pump. So Jared feed, she would feed, and I would pump. That's a thing of the past now. This wasn't coming in for me. But that was kind of the system that we set in place, and it really worked for us for those first 3 days.
Well, it was good. I was a little worried about you, but I think Jared was really worried about you. I think he was, but come on, if you were not confident that man could step up to the plate, that's amazing. If you think about I'm sure he didn't know that you were going to be out for the count. And when I was speaking to him at your house, that's what he said. He's like, we didn't know this is what was going to happen, but it's one of those things. You never know what
you don't.
You can't prepare. It's not like you could say, well, here's what's going to happen. You just freaking go with the flow. That's just the way that it happens. But I'm happy that everything, came out wonderfully, thank God. And so even as bad as it was, like I always want to remind people that, Chelsea's here and she's great and she looks beautiful and everything is fantastic. But it could be scary, because I can't imagine that you weren't scared. And especially since you're anxious about other things, and when it's yourself, were you more anxious because it was yourself, or less anxious because you were preoccupied by the babies?
I was so mentally prepared for the boys to need time in the NICU that when they told me they didn't, I didn't care. Like, anything could have happened to me. And as long as they were okay, that was the best case scenario.
Oh. All right. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. All right. So now, how old are the babies today?
They are like 3. They'll be 4 weeks old on Thursday. So 26 days old.
Oh my gosh. So you almost are at the month point. Now,
We did
looking
it.
back on your first month, what is your biggest success you have had over the past month? Besides getting out of the hospital and being fantastic and having a great delivery, that's all given. It's like, what have you been doing that you were like, yes, we did this. I'm so proud of us, or thank God that we went this way instead of that way.
So selfishly, I think what I would say is that we were able to trust someone to take care of the babies and get out of the house and go to dinner and kind of do things that made me feel very normal. So normal being pre-pregnant. And I think that a lot of people I know who have had a singleton were like, it's so hard to leave. And, that first time you leave the house is so upsetting and so terrifying and crazy. And now whenever our doula comes, we do kind of go out because we want to, he's on paternity leave, I'm on maternity leave. We should capitalize on this time and be able to trust people to take care of our babies, because I don't know how we would be able to live longer term without being able to trust people. So that was an unanticipated success. I think that before we were like, well, we're never going to leave them. And once we were home, we're like, yeah, we should probably go out. So that was an unanticipated success. And I would just say otherwise is just seeing them awake and smiling and happy and healthy. That's a success in itself.
What's something that you were surprised about? Like, besides having the success, like, is there something that you were not prepared that newborns did this, or that you would feel like this towards this? Is there something that you were surprised about?
I was surprised at how much work breastfeeding is, and like, props to all the moms who do breastfeed. I would send you all flowers if I had an unlimited budget, because I did not realize that breastfeeding meant every 3 hours. So I just can't in my head wrap my head around feeding and then pumping, or pumping and then feeding, and living your life in a 1 hour increment instead of 2 hour increments. It's hard enough to live it in 2 right now. So like, praise to all the breastfeeding moms who are able to do that, especially with twins. Multiples.
Tell me about it. I know we have a lot of people who are, extended breastfeeders that make it well into the first year, but it's a lot of work, especially in the beginning when you're trying to figure out this whole system. So, I think that it's a big success to you that you've accepted this is what is going to happen. And I think that everybody feels like somewhat guilty if you opt to not breastfeed, but your intro to parenthood did not start very typical. So, you can't expect there's no such thing as typical. Right? There really isn't. Because what worked for you worked for me. What worked for me is not going to work for anybody else. So, I feel bad when people, when I was at your house, you were concerned about it. You were like, what do I do? And I'm like, you know what, honestly, and I don't know if that's good or bad. And I don't know if you feel that I was encouraging you or discouraging you, but I just think people should support the parent on whatever they want to do. And sometimes the parents get involved, like your mom might have said, oh no, Chelsea, you have to do this because I breastfed you till you were 13 and look how perfect you are. So, with all jokes aside, it's tough. There's a lot of pressure on parents to breastfeed, and formula is fine. It's working out perfectly for the tiny monkeys. And also it's giving Jared plenty of opportunity to feed the babies. And then you can go out and you can have those dinners. So there's definitely a lot of benefits to that. So now, how much help do you have on a regular basis?
So on a regular basis, I still am working with the postpartum doula. She does 2 12-hour shifts a week. Okay. We've been using them for nights, and we get a full night's sleep, and we do try to go out a little bit. So she'll do like 8 to 8. We also have parents coming by during the day sometimes, but this is my husband's last week home. So we're kind of just saying, parents, we don't need you. We're just kind of chilling on our own. And then we're going to be moving to my family's house in Maryland in a week so that I can have help around the clock. And my husband's going to be working from his Washington, D.C. office. So that's very helpful. I'm still on maternity leave. I know that I still need help, and I financially don't want to start paying a nanny or someone to help me when I have family that can help and support us.
Yeah, you're very lucky to be able to move down there. Yeah. They have a great twin community down there too, which is very, very exciting. So yes, I think it's great. So how do you feel overall?
I feel good. I mean, we feel great. We both feel like, we're going to try to get them to sleep through, try to get them on a sleep schedule. So maybe have more for you on that the next month we meet, or in 2 months.
It's hard to do. You can't expect too much. They're still kind of little. How many pounds were they when they were born?
6 pounds, 3 ounces was Knox, 15 pounds, 5 pounds, 15 ounces for Nash. Yeah.
Imagine. And the second baby was 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you feel good. And how does it feel to be a mommy?
Oh, it's wonderful. They're just so cute and snuggly, and it's very surreal. I don't really have any words because they're just so small and they do 3 things right now. So it's just so exciting to kind of wait and see when they do 4 things and then 5 things, and then they're like fully active humans.
Now, because we're going to check in with you once a month,
yes.
What are you most looking forward to of what's going to happen in the next month?
I'm looking forward to them growing. They're so tiny right now. So I want them to be a little bit bigger and like meat on their thighs. So we're hoping, they're just so small. I'm looking forward to them growing. Although, and probably next week I'll be like, I wish they were still so small.
Let me tell you, I was watching, there's this show called Pinky Dinky Doo. And it's on like HBO or something, and it's a kids show. But when my twins were little, they said Pinky, like they would look at the TV and they would be like, Pinky, Pinky. And I'd be like, oh, that's their favorite show. So today I was flipping through the channels and I came across Pinky Dinky Doo. Chelsea, I freaking lost it. I was hysterical, crying like a psycho, because I'm thinking like, it feels like 15 minutes ago that they were just, yelling Pinky at the TV. So it goes so fast, and there's nothing that I could say to you that would be like, make sure you do this. The one thing I would encourage you to do, though, is you got to take a ton of pictures. And I know that because we have the pictures too. We're very lucky to have Jane, but you did fantastic belly shots while you were expecting, which really were beautiful, by the way. I just saw those.
Thank you.
And then pictures when they were first born. But you have to keep up with that too. So just try to remember. I know there's too many things throughout the day, but they grow so fast in the first 6 months. You're never going to believe it. Or like, you'll remember that they were small, but you won't remember like how small they were. So like, take a picture of their little foot in your hand, just so you could see in relation. Oh my God, Chelsea, they're going to get so big, you're not even going to know. How are the dogs doing with them?
Good. The dogs are doing well. The only thing I've been noticing is that when we have guests, the dogs are like, why aren't we the stars of the show? They're a little bit more needy with our guests than before. We'll see how it is when we go to Maryland, because my parents have 2 dogs too. So there'll be 4 dogs.
Oh my gosh. There'll be a gaggle of dogs.
Yes.
A tiny gaggle of babies. Well, that's fantastic. Is there any questions that you have for me so far?
I feel like I've texted you some questions, but I can't think of what they are now.
Today, because I was just so interested in getting what they were. I could look back onto my trusty little phone.
Let's see here.
No, text me back. Did you? No.
Let's see.
Next 12. No, you didn't send them to me. So if you have them on your phone, it didn't come through on my end, but I'm not worried about that. Everybody's not going to text me. You could text me 24 hours a day.
But yeah, I think questions I turn to Google a lot, which I probably shouldn't be doing. But I also really like the private page Organization of Twins group. Mm-hmm. The 20,000 people. That's a good group too.
Excellent.
And obviously you're a fantastic resource, of course.
Well, hello.
But at 3 a.m. when I'm like, is this normal?
Well, that's because there's people on that are all hours of the day. So the difference is that's a group. We're a page. So sadly, it's not as interactive. Maybe we need to talk offline about how to make this happen. But I can't thank you enough. I am so excited. You have the cutest little family in the universe. And then next time we talk to you, you're going to be down in Maryland.
Yes, I will.
Very good. All right. So we will check in with you in a month. So build up your questions, and everybody that's watching too, if you have any questions that we can answer, shoot them over to us in a direct message. And if you need me to get some information to Chelsea, or if you have an idea, clearly we are easily accessible chicks, right?
Yep.
That's it. All right, kiddo. Have the most wonderful day, and tell my babies and your sweet little husband, or just your boys. I could just say your boys. Tell your boys I said hi.
All right. Thank you.
I'm going to stop the live stream, but don't hang up on me.
Okay.